Well, let's go ahead and get picks and bans going for Game 2 here, Taco, between LG and eUnited. And you mentioned it, there's going to be more swap, more like closeness between the teams. I mean, think about it. Splice are kind of together playing in the team house for the start of the split. A Trifecta made a roster swap. LG have been scrimming and practicing and getting better and better. It is not easy here in North America. And if you're a team like eUnited that are supposed to win, you got to be able to pick up matches like this, and LG kind of putting it to them.
I think that a lot of people saw the first set between Luminosity and Splice and just automatically assumed, oh, these two teams are just the crappy teams, and whoever wins here, it doesn't even matter because they're going to be the last two again. I think there's something to be said about Splice getting a team house, like a legit gaming house, and being able to all be together, and that set did not properly relay where Luminosity might actually stand in comparison to the other teams. And
we're seeing it right here, right now. Let's see if LG can keep that momentum going. I mean, dare I ask you, if LG can do 2 in a row here against eUnited, this is going to be harder for him if they take away this Thoth pick. Keegs looks so strong on it in Game 1. This time, though, it's going to be Venenu as they ban away the Athena Shibalanke.
I think that might have been exactly what Luminosity were kind of hoping eUnited would go for, though. The Achilles as the immediate response pick.
Right.
Still not certain if this is going to be specifically for the solo or jungle roles, and I think that level of ambiguity puts Luminosity in a pretty nice position. And of course, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Clout running back the ROM.
Now remember, eUnited banned away the Achilles with their second ban in Game 1. This time, LG going to have that one for themselves, but a really strong jungle pick in response to this Susano. And I think this is so important. There's a lot of junglers that just do damage nowadays. No matter what, Susano's going to have the control to try to help boost that as well.
I think it depends. I'm actually not a huge fan of the Susano pick, and I say that purely because he can't match the damage output of an Achilles during the early game.
No one can, though, right? I mean, that's kind of Achilles' thing.
I think that Mercury can.
Early?
Honestly.
Achilles, that's all Achilles does is just damage.
Mercury is a very undervalued pick right now, and I think that god is pretty nuts, to say the least. But Susano, it's just awkward with the Susano, I feel, because it's Susano with the Thoth. If it wasn't these two being paired together, I might think otherwise, but it's just not a lot of pressure. And if you look at what Luminosity has opted for, it's tons of pressure.
Oh, especially with that Sylvanus pick. Sylvanus should not have too hard a time there in the duo lane. He's so oppressive, isn't he? Between the root, between those autos that are going to hit multiple minions at once. I mean, even at the very beginning, before the wave arrives, Sylvanus is a good threat to just get early poke in that duo lane.
I also think it's a great interrupt factor, because whenever Susano's trying to dart around towards your mid laner or even towards your carries, you just immediately knock everybody up into the air, kind of causes a brief moment to just breathe, and then that could be all the time that Luminosity needed for a hard reset. I do also appreciate the level of poke potential that they have. I think that's going to be really important in terms of making sure that the Achilles is able to pose a constant threat against eUnited.
They can find those executes for LG, then eUnited can certainly struggle here in this matchup. LG going to ban away the Odin and the Artemis. A little bit surprised. The Odin was the pick they went with, but I suppose with the Achilles Sylvanus already, they don't really want to go in that direction, so they just strip that away from eUnited, along with PandaCat's famous Blink Artemis.
Well, I think it's pretty clear what eUnited is really concerned about, because those are some mid and under picks that are being stripped away. I mean, the Raw Poseidon, those are clear, definite shots towards Keegs, and Aphrodite being locked in. I'm still not convinced that this is going to be an Aphrodite mid.
No, I'm very likely that's going to Kiki, right? The Aphrodite. I mean, that's a strong pickup for them. And as you mentioned, eUnited have taken a strong eye towards this mid lane. They picked the Thoth, they banned Poseidon, and they banned Ra. They are trying to limit the options here for Keegs in the mid lane, and I just don't know if you can do that. Keegs can play a lot of stuff.
Well, Chang'e, Medusa. I actually really like the pickup with the Chang'e. Avoids, I shouldn't say avoids, but helps keep that Aphrodite suppressed in a sense.
Is this a made solo lane? What year is this? Where are we?
It's Season 5 Summer Split. Thank you, Masters Land, by the way. Appreciate you guys.
For giving us this, right? So we can go back to Dig and pulling out those Aphrodites a bunch. And
I missed healers so much.
Great.
And I'm sure you all did too.
The Soul going to round out the draft for LG. That feels like the actual mid lane pick here for this LG squad. Keegs certainly can play this. We saw him playing it on the box a good bit, so wouldn't be surprised if it ends up in his hands. And Kiki, who kind of prefers to play these Aphrodites anyway, we'll think likely it'll be him. So I got to ask you, sounds like the casters are standing by. It's Tom Baddinger, I believe, right? We confirmed that. That's who that is. But
not Haverford?
Not Haverford here.
Wasn't that Aziz Ansari's character?
That's Parks and Rec, yeah. That's I don't know. Tom's loud, so is that guy. I don't know. Maybe that's what it was. But who are you leaning towards, LG or eUnited here with these 2 drafts?
I say Luminosity purely because of double healer.
You're picking LG to get the 2-0 here, Taco.
It's the double healer, man. You saw what happened earlier with Space Station, and double healers are just nasty.
Well, we're leaning towards the double healers, LG, to get the 2-0 upset. Casters, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks a lot, Perd. Tom Haverford here next to Anatoly Alexeyenok. We're going to get things going into game number 2. If things go Luminosity's way, that's it. We all go home after this. But I think eUnited have what it takes to stretch it.
It would be surprising to see a 2-0 because eUnited is a team that can easily still bounce back. They have the mental fortitude to be able to sweep that first game under the rug, take a look back about what they did wrong, and make sure that they don't repeat those same mistakes.
Exactly. Watching these teams go back and forth is really exciting. And eUnited, like you said, this is a great team. There's no reason to think that we're going to see them sort of falter here in the game. But let us know who you think is going to win the game out there in Mixer Chat. When you look at this one, draft-wise, how are you leaning?
It's difficult because both of them have great sustained options. You got Aphrodite and Sylvanus out of Luminosity, but then on the flip side, eUnited has Chang'e that's going to be able to try to step things up, get the anti-healing. A good Waxing Moon might all that eUnited need.
I think you're thinking to later on in the day.
Am I?
The Waxing Moon?
Oh yeah, that's right.
So if you guys tuned into the spring fling, Toli here is gonna wax his big old chest. It's gonna be exciting. Yeah. I'm not gonna be there.
Oh, you will be. You're the one that I chose to do it.
I've already eaten. It won't happen. Game number 2 on the way. Hopefully we get to see eUnited win this one. Not because of bias, but because I want to see more Smite, Toli. This is a fun matchup. Scream is going to be on one of his stronger characters, the Susano. And this character is just strong in general as of late. KikiSoCheeky on the Aphrodite. Now, this is a goddess, and I emphasize the last of that section because the old-fashioned joke was that Kiki could only play the female gods, and he has definitely moved on from that stereotype, but he still has the power. And this Aphrodite in the solo lane for Kiki, I think, is one of the more formidable Aphrodites around.
Whether or not it was a different name during a lot of his ranked experiences, KikiSoCheeky, Shotgun's Divorce, Lil Gaga's Monster.
Gaga's Little Monster, excuse me.
Or Gaga's Little Monster. I'm sorry.
I was a big Kiki fan back in the day.
And yeah, if you look at his wiki page, I'm sure all his aliases are listed there. And Aphrodite was one of his go-to.
Yeah.
And it's just very annoying to handle. It does a lot of return damage if you least expect it. But in the meta where there's a lot of warriors, a blessing for both of these solo laners, difficult to really get the damage off with individual sustain.
Scream in the middle lane, looking for some poke on a keegsmate. Playing the Soul. Is another interesting choice here. We saw it come out from Shaka in the minor league earlier today, but Toli, it seems to be kind of backwards. Scream here going to get interrupted by Weaken though. Scream still goes aggressive. Weaken dashes as well, can't find it, so that be that. But mainly these long-range burst mages seem to be the flavor of the month. How does Soul fit in?
I was going to get to that, but I just wanted to talk about the way Weaken messed up that engagement versus keegsmate messing up that engagement.
Sure.
Weaken goes onto one target, but then keegsmate uses the Stellar Burst onto Venenu and not Scream. I'm not sure what the original call there, but clearly some sort of disconnect at the beginning of this game. It could have been a first blood if keegsmate dropped the Stellar Burst onto Scream. So I'm going to lean more towards Weaken's side that he should have, or that keegsmate should have followed up onto Scream. But you were asking.
Let me play devil's advocate there. I think that keegsmate, noticing how low that everybody was getting, used the Stellar Burst for the crowd control, the slow, to allow Weaken to get out of jail. No.
Well, the engagement happened before the minion waves even entered.
Okay,
so it was just a thing where the aggression from Luminosity needed to be cohesive to find the first blood. But having a slight advantage in the experience per minute department over the Thoth, just ever so slightly, is what keeps the Soul so safe in the mid lane. Hitting that level 4 marker first, getting off the pot shots, getting the heat off. You're asking me earlier about Shaka playing the Soul?
Yeah, and thus keegsmate playing the Soul. We've seen the meta kind of shift away from these sort of characters into the more burst-oriented. Why the return?
It's just a safety aspect. Thoth does so much damage unexpectedly that you might need the Disapparates to get away. There's not too many safe mid gods or goddesses, and Sol, if you're looking for a safe god, not many safer than her.
Shifting over to the short side of the map here. We've seen the waxing moon coming out. Kiki going to be stopped down there, but a couple of pots will be absolutely fine. We've seen these healers come up against tanks, and they build tank. Well, you have to build tank to keep up with the Joneses, if you will, right? If your opponent took a Cullen, I've got to be a tanky Aphrodite. Well, with one mage versus another mage, does this give the solo laners the luxury to build into power?
Yes.
Or are we going to see them stick to their old guns?
In the 1v1, yes, but you can never not forget about the junglers that's about to make those rotations happen. Venenu without his dash, looking for the return damage onto Geno. Avoids the pull disruption here, but those wisps is enough to seal the fate. Luckily, though, Clout with the last basic attack to give himself the first blood.
With the old taunt onto his ex-teammate, actually. Clout, formerly known as Venenu.
I hated when those two were on the same team.
Venenu and Venenu. Well, that's not so bad.
VE.
Okay. That's not so bad.
During certain casting moments, when I see, like, players, if I
Okay.
see one letter,
I feel
I'm like,
that.
who else in their name has a V?
That's fair. I feel that. I definitely, and that's a caster thing. Folks at home won't get that. I do feel that. I'm going to tell you my tip for that. Get good.
Wow. After 2 years, you finally tell me this, Tom? I've been waiting this whole time.
Thanks, PolarBearMike. That's exactly how I felt about that comment. 10 seconds before the Gold Fury spawns up. That said, I don't think any composition really is built to burn this right quick. KikiSoCheeky and Clout can certainly do damage to the objectives very quickly, but not in this early stage. We're going to have to see them get a couple of items online before we're able to see that. Right now, KikiSoCheeky not showing his hand. When it comes down to Sol, you can go two directions. You can go the mage build, or you can really embrace the basic attacks with the pen boots. We don't know just yet.
Not just yet, and even with Hunter's Blessing, you still want to be able to get those basic attacks with how easy it is to burn objectives once you get that 100% heat. Kiki going to get pulled back in. It's a full Storm Kata, but not going to trade the Typhoon for the Aphrodite ultimate. Venenu used the beads, dashed away, but still wasn't enough. Plenty of follow-up damage as keegsmate drops that Stellar Burst Supernova combo.
Saw this in game number 1 as well. Luminosity prioritizing damage into the middle lane. Right now, the damage is on the right side of the map. Weekend going to be in trouble. Does have the dash, can't get it off. Kiki without the ultimate can't save the jungler. Scream puts eUnited on the board at the 6-minute mark.
Fatal Strike just not timed well enough to get out of that one. Perfect timing also to use the pull and the knockup. Maybe if the timing was a little bit quicker before the Typhoon knockup, I think Weekend survives there. But even if he does survive, he's losing the blue buff. He's losing a lot of farm in the solo lane, and there's going to be one extra step for Scream to maybe strip away more camps.
Earlier today, we posed the question, will these solo laners build tanky since they don't have to build tanky against each other? And it looks like that's not going to be the case. They are going to, in general, they are going to be looking towards a power build. Right now, you see Benji building up that rod. That could either be the Warlock Staff or the Rod of Asclepius. And that'll be exciting to watch which way he goes.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's a utility option out of the Gem of Isolation. Getting
Really?
more slows. It's a thing. It's definitely possible.
This early, because I agree, I think it's a very powerful item on Chang'e, believe it or not, because you're able to affect multiple people so often with what you're doing. I'm making this ridiculous arm motion. But my point is that I get it. But usually this early is kind of weird.
If fights happen this early, that extra slow can be the difference between either killing Weekend or not. So options still available, but with a tier 2, it looks like it's going to be the Warlock Staff Rush.
And a different story for Kiki across the way. He will build a little bit defensively, which makes sense as he has been jumped on a little bit more so. He is behind 2 levels, which is a big deal, so needs a little bit more defensive prowess there in that conversation.
2-level deficit is Benji controlling the wave. He's able to clear out first, blue buff respawning, and Scream right in position. Weekend a little too busy doing those back camps, not even making the rotation happen. They understand that the invade was happening with a nice vision control out of Kiki, making sure that he's not going to get ganked. He's trying to survive that early laning phase because Aphrodite still going to do healer things towards the late game.
Right. It's very interesting how we sort of slid into this heal world because When we first saw Aphrodite come out, it was all about the ultimate and the back-off damage. She was much more about being able to use the ultimate to save players, and then more importantly, tethering to the jungler and then providing an instant death by way of back-off, Soul Reaver, and whatever nonsense the jungler was going to provide. Now, I think, for one reason or another, players are embracing the healing aspect of her. Guan Yu has been buffed. Guan Yu's a nice healer. Benji, you see coming through with the Chang'e. And even something as simple as the...
Oh, wow. Kiki forced to trade out ultimates there with Benji. The Waxing Moon will go into effect, using the Meditate to get the mana back. Benji was using his low mana as an illusion. PandaCat turning 180, but so does Weekend. There goes the Dharmic Pillars. Another defensive Fatal Strike. Weekend can't get the offensive executes that he wants.
Right now, I don't mind that. The execute is just used as damage. I think it's better to use the Fatal Strike as an escape tool at this moment. Now, of course, not getting kills is a bad thing, but chasing out the Fatal Strike at this point, not too concerning. The problem is late game. That's really when executes shine, so that because health pools are so much larger and it saves you so much more work, if we keep seeing Weekend's ultimate being chased out defensively as the game gets later, that's when we're going to see an issue. For me, the issue right now is experience. Both Kiki and Weekend are lacking there. About a level behind is Kiki, and Weekend trailing by a level and a half.
Well, the thing is, kills reward not just gold, but also experience. So if you're using those Fatal Strikes just to disengage, well, all that time you invested trying to find the kill, you could have been using to farm.
It's a great point.
That's why Scream was not interested in making that rotation. He was getting his own speed buff in the process, getting that one level lead over the shirtless Achilles, and is still able to make the plays happen in the soul lane as Benji's 2 levels ahead of Kiki.
That is a fantastic point. Very glad you brought it up. And as we say goodbye to the early game phase, Cold Fury, or Fire Giant rather, will spawn as we're 10 minutes in. We're all tied up here in game number 2 just about. Luminosity looking to bottle what they did in game number 1. They focused Venenu a fair amount in the first game, and here with him on the Thoth, we saw a lot of that in the first couple of minutes as well. Venenu, 2 deaths already.
That's normally an uncharacteristic thing to happen, but still not really worried about Venenu's chances in this game. The Thoth can definitely put in the work. You have plenty of setup. PBM is going to be looking to knock people up with that dash. Scream with a pull into the Typhoon. Benji with a Waxing Moon. That linear assault between Benji's Waxing Moon and Typhoon and then Final Judgment is great team fighting assets that eUnited can still play on the defensive end.
I love Chang'e. I think she brings so many tools. The fact that she also anti-heals on top of everything is kind of silly.
The first ability used to give protections towards allies and herself as well. Way back.
I remember that. We do remember
Good stuff.
that. Chang'e has always been one of my favorite characters to play because very fluid, just so very fluid, right? She just feels truly like she's dancing. A really fun character.
14 seconds is the max cooldown of the second ability, so getting cooldown reduction, very important for her to stay alive in a lot of these encounters. And if you can get that 5-man ultimate, man, that last target, poor target, 5 seconds stun, but it will be the Warlock Staff, getting 14 stacks thus far. Benji fully controlling Kiki's blue buff.
And I like Benji's approach here. I think Benji is playing this arguably better than Kiki flat out, not just because he has the lead, Anatoly, because I think he's playing this position in this game for this specific situation. I asked how things were going to change. Well, Weekend over here on the left side, not much has changed there. He will fall, not much has changed there either. Geno here in some trouble, going to wiggle through in the box, but he'll fall down. Double kill for Max. PandaCat looking good.
Doing very well for himself this early, getting 2 kills, 12 minutes in. Goal Fury going to be looked at now by eUnited, trying to stretch the lead. Weekend and Geno dead for 10 more seconds. It's a 5-on-3 window. Keegs looking to wrap around, though.
And the ultimate from Scream going to go looking for Keegs. Can't find him, but Venenu can. That's going to be a kill for the middle laner. Nice job right there.
They don't need the Goal Fury if they can find additional picks and just separate themselves with a neutral camp farming, getting the left and the right mid Harpies, getting all these waves under the tier 1 tower takes any sort of farming opportunity away from keegsmate.
With him dead, I mean, Keeks has to start thinking about how he can sort of transition, right? It's this mid game. He's 1-1-1, not so bad, but he's got the boots of the Bancroft. And this is really where he's going to start to do things. You can see him building into one of the rings.
Probably going to be the Demonic Grip, trying to get off more penetration. Mixing the magical power mage items with the attack speed hunter items. It could be allowed by the soul. Now, whether that's right or wrong, it's mostly a feels thing. If you're hitting the same target that's weakened is hitting, you want to look for the burst damage. But also at the same time, you want to keep yourself alive and return the damage. So Disapparate buys you a moment. Bancroft's talent amplifying your supernova to just do so much damage as long as you can position it to hit all the targets.
PandaCat looking to fight early, not a surprise. I come to that conclusion by looking at the itemization. Gloves into boots into the Ikaval, whereas Clout goes gloves into boots into the Executioner. Ikaval is a I want to fight now item.
And not only that, it's also the difference of the boots. You're getting Warrior Tabai out of PandaCat, has a lot of scaling with some of his abilities, as Kiki, still not deterred despite being 2 levels behind. He realizes there's a huge mana discrepancy between the two, so trading out the mana resources to boost up the health. Benji still sitting with meditation, not too worried considering that Benji's not only getting his own blue, but also Kiki's for, I believe, the past 8, maybe even 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, complete control, and I started talking about how Benji has made the adaptation to play this game against the mage. Right? If he's against a different character, most notably a tankier character, I don't think we see this build. Warlock staff into likely a penetration item. Maybe a Divine Ruin is really what I'm thinking here, but we'll see how that one goes out. We don't see the same build if Benji's against a Hercules whatsoever, whereas Luminosity's solo later I think is just going what he generally always builds. I like to see the adaptation from Benji, and it will be the Divine Ruin. I am, my goodness, I love this approach.
He's going to be able to be even more of a bully and a nuisance going for this utility style. And it's not just trying to focus out Kiki. Geno can obviously heal. Yep. Weaken has some self-healing. keegsmate has some self-healing. So taking all those options away, even with the Cursed Ankh on PBM side of things, is going to amplify damage received considering that it's upgraded. So as soon as those wisps come out from Geno, that Cursed Ankh will be popped.
It's a big deal. Ton of extra damage as well. Ultimate from Keeks can be stretched out, no problem. United trying to get control of the Gold Fury. That's what that play was about. Anybody that gets a pick will look for the objective.
Scream a little too slippery to get hit from that first supernova. And I like the first item that Scream purchased after the boots. Getting the Brawler's B-Stick. So many times we see the Crusher being rushed as a first item, but Scream thinking in the moment of the game, really respecting the true healing potential. Wants to make sure that every option is covered. Get the Divine Ruin stacked up. Get the Brawler's Beatstick stacked up on the same target. Also, probably a Pestilence coming out through PBM side.
Yeah, there's a ton of options to keep Kiki at bay. Not Geno, of course, as a side effect, but I don't really think you look at Sylvanus as a healer. He's a god that has a heal.
True. His heal is not the highest of the game, but it's also long enough that you can apply the Lotus Crown on top of it. Unfortunately for Geno, hasn't had the timing quite yet of when he wants to get it off because he had to rush the Gauntlet of Thebes to make sure he has the physical and the magical defensive aura. Now, trying to get off the breastplate. Probably going to go for some cooldown reduction if I were to guess here.
Yeah, I've really liked the Lotus Crown first item on Sylvani. You like the plural of Sylvanus?
Yeah, cacti, Sylvani, yeah.
Octopi.
Yeah.
Thanks,
You're cute when you do that.
Nemesi. Thanatosis? No?
No.
No? Thanatosis with a short prognosis?
I just call them fancy toasts.
Fancy toast?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it.
He's fancy. He's a fancy gentleman.
And the toast?
That rains havoc from the sky. Can
toast?
we get a fancy toast? Oh, hold that thought though in the soul lane, Kiki.
Nice
Gonna get stunned on out, but Benji will not stop. He might even dive this.
Interesting. I mean, interesting choice.
He might even go back into, considering he has the shell and the meditation to go in. He gets off the stun, gets the anti-healing, forces the shell out of Kiki. With both relics from Benji, he can still take that tower for another wave, but Weaken around the corner with Blink. Was thinking about going in, but backing off, considering that eUnited is forcing their second Gold Fury.
They're going to peel back just for now. And so will Luminosity. Benji, however, showing no such remorse, will not do any such thing for Kiki.
This is just a game of chicken. Benji's 3 levels ahead. He has complete control of the lane. He can do no wrong. Even if Weaken comes around the corner and they try to find a kill, but amount of time that Weaken wastes in this lane, Scream is already here.
When there's going to be problems, as you see the Aphrodite linking on up. Now Benji is in trouble, but the knockup on Kiki is great from Scream. And back off provides enough crowd control to keep him at bay. Here comes Geno from around the back. PolarBearMike's in tow, though. And it looks like both supports will just meet up with their teams. Venenu trying to deal with keegsmate 1 versus 1. And keegsmate brings the mid lane Venenu into the yellow.
Supernova was used, but Final Judgment still being held on to. Pyromancer could be looked at from eUnited if they really want, but Gold Fury still available. These teams not wanting to pull the trigger. Same way LG was kind of slowing down the pacing. And honestly, in the stages of the SPL, this is what gets you the Ws.
When you look at the United, they already have the 2,000 gold lead, right? So forcing the objectives, not necessarily in their best interest, because an 18-11 gold lead is certainly fight intoable by Luminosity.
But with that 5,000 experience gap, eUnited probably have an easier time to force some of these team fights, especially with Benji fully stacking up that Warlock staff, having a huge, significant experience lead over the Aphrodite. That's where most of that experience actually lies.
On top of Weaken? Or, I mean, on top of Scream, rather?
Well, the difference between Benji and Kiki.
Right. You also have 2 levels between the junglers, and then 1, basically, across everybody else. But PandaCat trailing behind Clout. Clout opting for the Chinsai here, which is a nice look as far as the tanks are concerned. PandaCat on the other side will go for the Executioner after his Ichabal. So the question is, who goes crit?
I don't think anyone is going to go crit quite yet. It needs to be sustained damage. Gold Fury going to be looked at. eUnited are the ones pulling it. LG backing out. keegsmate very low. Typhoon knocking up 2 on the left side. Clout very low.
Geno, he takes a little bit of poke, but he'll walk away almost fine. Gold Fury half already. Weaken and Kiki are here, forces the reset. Big ultimate from Weaken is going to crush a couple, but Venenu picks up 2 with 1 hand, and PandaCat grabs the other.
Forcing the ultimate out of Kiki, trying to run away. Scream will not let this go for free until finally the rest of his team calls him back out. Gold Fury finally completed as eUnited grab themselves a 4,000 gold lead. Could transition into the tier 1 tower, but honestly, Tom, this is looking like a fire giant attempt for me.
Certainly might be. 19 seconds on Weaken, 20 seconds on keegsmate, 10 seconds on Geno. And LG will focus on the big boys. Fire giant goes down, no contest. Left side, tier 1 tower for LG.
And that's why Scream made the back preemptively, knowing that the rest of his 4 teammates can grab the fire giant, but somebody needs to defend the tier 2. He has the AoE clear, which forces LG to make a decision. If they want this tier 2 tower, they have to go without the minions. It'll be very difficult to do so, and as a result, they're going to back on out with the potential threat of an eUnited rotation.
Lotus Crown, wonderful choice here for Benji. Certainly going to allow him to provide a bunch of extra protections. Wonderful look here from the solo lane on the side of eUnited. Something that we're used to at this point.
It's true. That Lotus Crown going to be a big deal. I'm surprised that it happened onto Benji even before it happened onto Geno for Luminosity side of things as he rushes the Breastplate of Valor. It's so difficult to really squeeze in cooldown reduction as a support player. And that's why we're seeing a lot more shoes of focus in the builds instead of the Traveler shoes as of recent.
Yeah, it's been an interesting look. And also, don't forget, next patch. Right now we're on 6.8. 6.9 is what's live right now. And we'll be moving into that one where you're going to see plenty of the boots.
Left side getting the tier 1 tower. 500 more gold as eUnited trying to stretch for another 1,500 gold. And going forward, I don't think Luminosity can stop this.
I was a year ahead. We're in 5-8, excuse me. Right now, Geno getting pushed all the way back to 6-8 by Venenu's ultimate. Not dead just yet, he says in his best Monty Python voice, but the tower is, and it's got no voice.
Keegs is in trouble in the backside. Scream goes in, weakened, trying to get the defensive ultimate. He can't. Clout with the Aegis, trying to run. Keeping himself alive for the moment as Kiki healing up Geno with a meditation prop from eUnited and a Fire Giant. This Phoenix not going to stand for long.
Totally all in control is eUnited. Kiki pulled, Kiki pushed, Kiki punished. Here comes Geno. The Tree Man shows up, but nothing hazy about that one. All clean for NotGeno.
Venenu is not done yet. He actually goes past the Phoenix to kill Clout. A little too ambitious, but with his teammates right beside him, keegsmate falls to that as well as only his PBM is dead. 4 members out of eUnited are standing strong. NotGeno can't hold on to this one.
We can tear in 5 seconds, but this one goes to eUnited. The defending world champions will not surrender without a fight. 23 minutes of play, Toli. That's a quick one.
Very quick. They just got to have a quickie every now and then in game number 2 to get the best of 1 now out of the best of 3. eUnited, they understand what's at line. They're trying to get themselves in the best possible situation heading into week 2.
Really exciting watching eUnited bounce back because I think this is one where PolarBearMike goes, we're not supposed to lose to weekend. And then they go and they play again and just bring the pain. What a game. That was domination.
It was the Thoth pick. Switching things up for the first pick, Thoth. Venenu did very well against Space Station earlier this week. Run it back. That's what they did in game 2, and they're going to probably do it again in game 3.
Well, unless it gets banned. I mean, if I'm LG, is that where my mind goes? Do I ban Thoth?
Very possibly, but there's just so many things to ban. I don't expect Achilles to be banned anymore. I think that the Achilles went through on purpose so that eUnited can get themselves to Thoth. So that's something that LG needs to consider moving forward.
I don't think Achilles really is worth the ban when you see the performance, and I think he's an average character, really, when it comes down to. I don't really think he's got a lot of the power, so different story there. MVP, let us know out there in Mixer Chat who you think was the most valuable performer on eUnited. Any thoughts?
No? Let's head to the desk.
Totally has no thoughts. Let's break it down.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Toli. And there you go. eUnited kind of bounced back after that rough Game 1 loss. LG now 1-1 up against EU. And Benji kind of put it to Kiki a little bit there in the solo.
I really think Aggro and I were onto something yesterday when we discussed bottling up our Caster's Curse and just selling it to teams. Because whoever I vote for just ends up losing.
Well, it's hard when it goes just that well. I mean, Scream and Benji, what a combination they were here in this game. The Susano had a ton of control, but, I mean, Benji kind of just was bodying Kiki in lane to a certain extent. I mean, proxying beyond the tower. There really wasn't much for Kiki to do.
Definitely a sort of revenge there for Benji in game number 2. He felt like an unstoppable force from the solo lane, transitioning that well over into the team fights. It just didn't seem as though Luminosity really had a chance to let their composition come online, because double healer is fantastic if you stay even or are ahead, but at the moment that you fall too far behind, it just feels as though it's practically impossible in terms of recovery. And I think that eUnited just did it perfectly. They did not allow the opportunity for Luminosity to get back into this one. And I think Chang'e was definitely the go-to pick here because of the way that she's also a healer that can be very devastating from ahead.
Just a good matchup into the Aphrodite that Chang'e was, and that's why you see Benji actually getting the MVP as selected by you all there in Mixer Chat, and I think you were dead on with that call. Benji just got so far ahead so early, and he hit the nail on the head, Taco. If you're gonna beat a healer comp, you gotta do it in like 23 minutes, if preferably faster, really, because even 23 minutes can get a little bit scary, but eUnited got so far ahead of him so early on that LG never had a moment to breathe.
And it was a little unfortunate there for Luminosity because you could tell that there were definitely moments in which they tried to recover. I think even though those last couple of Phoenix defenses that they were aiming for, just impossible it felt, because they try to make their stand. And I can totally respect a team that goes for that call. It was just too little too late. really nothing more to be done about it, because one by one, eUnited was just able to pick them apart while ignoring all the others and didn't really seem all that concerned about Luminosity underneath that Phoenix.
And you heard the casters alluding to it a little bit, Taco, that maybe this Achilles pick is being a little overvalued. Weekend did not have the best game on it, was not able to match Scream's pressure at all that game. I mean, do eUnited need to be worried about this Achilles?
I don't think so. I don't think any team needs to really be all that worried about Achilles, and I'll just say it right now, Achilles isn't that great. He does damage, but so do a lot of other gods, and well, Achilles, I think that if you're running a composition that can benefit off of the burst damage to help for the secure on the fatal execute on the fatal strike, then yeah, it's awesome, but he feels a lot more pub stompy than anything else.